When Sarah passed away in this week's Parsha Chayey Sarah, Avram acquired Ma'arat HaMachpelah to be a family burial plot and buried Sarah there. After seeing his wife having passed away and unsure of how much longer he himself might have, Avram decided that it was time to ensure his family continuity and marry off his son Yitzchak. Avram gave his most trusted and senior servant the mission to travel to his family birthplace to find a wife appropriate for Yitzchak. Avram gave his servant a number of instructions for this mission. Interestingly, of all the instructions that Avram gave his servant, Avram was most emphatic that Yitzchak cannot and must not go with him, but must stay in Canaan. Why was Avram so insistent that Yitzchak must not leave Canaan even temporarily? The Midrash Lekach Tov notes that Yitzchak had been dedicated as an offering to God in Mount Moriah. Even if he hadn't been offered up, he had still been designated as one and became, for all intents and purposes, an offering. One of the laws of offerings is that once something has been placed on the altar, it must stay within certain holy boundaries. For an animal offered up, this meant it must stay and be eaten within the walls of Yerushalayim. The Midrash extends this concept and teaches that a person who is placed on the altar to God must not leave the boundaries of the Holy Land. Avram therefore insisted that since Yitzchak had become an offering, he too had attained a certain type of holiness and must not leave the boundaries of the Holy Land. Even having been an offering, there's still a very strong case to say that Avram's objection for Yitzchak to leave the land had nothing to do with Yitzchak becoming an offering. Radak explains that Avram's objection to Yitzchak leaving was because he did not want to lose the hold that he had on the land. But how would Avram lose his hold on the land if Yitzchak would leave? Rav David Tzvi Hoffman notes that there was a clear danger that if Yitzchak would leave the land, then he might be enamored and enticed by his extended family and would not come back. This would then invalidate God's promise to Avram to give him the land. While at first glance this reasoning might seem to be far-fetched, we see from historical experience that it was not uncommon and was a true concern. While this does make sense, why should we suspect that Yitzchak would want to settle outside of the land? Canaan was his home. He was born and raised there. It was all that he knew and knew that it was promised to him and his family. Like many others, he would be happy to visit some place for a short time, but would be happiest when he came home. This meant that Avram had a different reason for keeping Yitzchak in the land. While God had promised him the land, Avram's grasp on the land was tenuous at best. Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. Avram came to reside in the land at an advanced age. While well-respected, he was partially considered to be an outsider. Avram's presence in the land was a good start, but was not enough to truly tie the family to the land as a son would. For God's promise to take root, it needed the next generation to have not just a continual presence, but a continuous presence in the land. Avram understood that had his son Yitzchak left the land even for a moment, it would have prevented God's promise to Avram from coming about, as it would have severed at the start the bond of the promise between Avram's family and the land. Avram, through Yitzchak, planted the seeds, and we as children have kept his dream and connection alive. Even during famine, hardship, exile, and destruction, there has always been a continuous Jewish presence. As God had promised to Avram, the Jew and the land of Israel are inseparable, and all are welcome to come home and dwell within. Shabbat Shalom.